Hey there, friends, and welcome to another Facebook Live training. And this one is by popular demand from all kinds of teachers who really are stressed out over sight words. And teaching sight words happens to be one of my favorite areas of the classroom. So I'm here tonight to help you boost sight word engagement and help you learn some strategies that will get your kids more engaged than ever and therefore find some real results with those long sight word lists. And I know it can be stressful. I too stress over sight words, but I've got some good news for you. You can do it, okay? And I am here to help. My name is Tony, and I am just a complete primary teacher. Don't ask me about the big kids because the little kids are the ones that I want to teach. And I love them so dearly that I want to help teachers like you find more joy in what it is that you do in your classroom. You are inspiring little people every day by being their leader. And I want to help you do a better job at that and to be happier at that so that can kind of work through them too. So my name is Tony and I'm so happy to be here and I'm privileged to be able to share my knowledge with you tonight. But before we get started, I want to have a viewer shout out. Guys, I do all of this in my spare time, which isn't very much because I love it. But to hear some feedback from you really means a lot to me. So I wanted to take some time to thank Tanita, love your name by the way, Tanita, for leaving this thoughtful feedback on one of my previous videos. And Tanita, because you took time to do that, I am going to give you the freebie that the giveaway item that I'm giving away free tonight. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But this is what Tanita had to say. I love your enthusiasm for teaching kids and helping teachers. So Tanita, I'm so glad that comes through to you because yes, I love helping kids and I love helping their teachers too. So you have won the free product for tonight. Before we get to that, please let's do a roll call. Let me know where you're coming from tonight. Are you a kindergarten, first, second grade teacher, or another type of teacher? Maybe even a homeschool parent or a parent that is working extra hard to give their students some support from home. Let me know. Check in using these reactions that you can find with this video. Go ahead and check in. Let me see what we have. I would be doing the big face because I do currently teach kindergarten and I love it. We're crazy folks over in kindergarten. And also let me introduce you to Pepe in case you haven't met Pepe the Pencil. He is your visual cue to be typing in the keyboard. And Pepe does provide rewards to those who are engaged. Let's practice what we preach and let's be engaged with the teacher. I'm thankful to be your teacher tonight. But when you see Pepe, that is your cue to be writing something in the comments. So we're going to get started right away with Pepe, and he wants to know how many sight words are your students required to learn? Whatever grade level you teach, how many words do they need to know to exit your grade level? For me in kindergarten in our district, we are required to teach the pre-primer and the primer list, which is a total of 92 words. So we have 5-year-olds that have to recognize 92 words. Pretty crazy. It can be done. I do believe students can do that. But that is a whole lot of words. I just want to know how many are you supposed to teach? And also bonus points if you can let me know what word list you're teaching from. And where does that come from? Is that a district mandated thing? Does your state have something that's required? How does that work for you? So, let me tell you about the giveaway tonight. This is one of my best-selling products, and I'm happy to share it with those of you that I can. This is called Intensive Sight Word Practice, and I created this about 6 years ago. but it's actually, thanks to my husband, has received a facelift. I taught him some technical things and taught him how to go in there and improve this already great product. And what it is each word has a printout, and there are actually 7 different ways to practice this one word on this one little sheet. That's why it's called intensive practice. And my kiddos love it. It's just a variety of activities on one sheet. And it's great for RTI. So if you have struggling students, if you're doing small RTI groups and you want to focus on one single word, then go ahead and do that. It's great for that. This is what an actual buyer had to say. I love that the kids can see and write the word in a variety of ways. It's engaging and fun for my students. I use it for homework and for center work. And Amber B wrote that on Teachers Pay Teachers. So thank you, Amber, for taking time to leave me some feedback on that. I have a lot of customers that love this product. A lot of them just use it because they introduce one word per day, and then they have the page to go along with it to give some reinforcement. And it's great because they have to write the word here and then read the sentence, so they're getting the context with that, and then they illustrate the sentence that the word went in. So over here it says the pig is funny. So they just draw, I guess, a funny pig there. But really cool. So that's what I'm giving away. So Tanita, that is what you have won. You've won the pre-primer edition of that. But if you guys can stick around with me for a little while, if you can, I am having a Facebook Live Q&A at the end of this session where I am going to be answering some questions that I've already received from people in the Primary Friends Facebook group. And also, if you drop a question there, you will be eligible to win the bundle of this product. That is the pre-primer, the primer, and first grade word lists. I can't remember how many words. 139 words in that bundle. So stick around there, and you may be one of the people chosen to win the bundle by just leaving a question that you have about sight words. So we'll get to that soon. But I've got good news. Everyone watching has access to this free sight word engagement guide. And I love this. It's like one of my favorite items that I've ever created that is free. And you're going to love using these things. You can print them out. You can take the advice I give you tonight, and you can get started as soon as tomorrow with engaging your students more during sight word instruction. So if you follow the link that leads to the post about this content, if you go down the page, there's a form there that you fill out, and you'll get this in your email. So check that out, and you'll love it. I'm going to tell you everything about it. So let's talk. Let me slow down a little, and let's talk about sight words. Okay. I want you to notice this, and I want you to believe this. I want you to really get your mind wrapped around this sentence. With a passionate and caring guide, every child can learn sight words. So, every kid can. Every kid in your classroom can learn these words. How can I say that with just so much, I don't know. I've lost my word there. How can I say that with so much power that every student can learn sight words? Well, let me tell you why. Sight word ID is in the lowest level of learning. Well, okay, so what does that mean? The lowest level of learning, you've probably heard of Bloom's taxonomy sometime during your preparation as a teacher or during your teaching career about Bloom's taxonomy. And it's this pyramid that tells us all these different levels of learning. And if you look at the very bottom of the pyramid, that is the easiest level of learning to attain. And right there in that remembering section, that's where sight word ID recall is found. So this is the easiest level of learning for your students to obtain. That means all of the students in our classroom, as long as you care and as long as you are working hard to be their guide, all students can learn those words. So I want us to get our mindset around that. I am absolutely positive that all of the students in my classroom can learn these words. And I've actually seen some students who I didn't think could learn sight words move above other students who I thought were more capable. Has that ever happened to you? I can think of an instance in my classroom right now of a student who I never thought could learn that many words, and he has actually risen above other students in the classroom and can now do it. So let's get our mind wrapped around that all of our students can do it. Let's set that in our mindset, and that is the first step in engaging them, okay? So let's think of all of our fun activities, okay? They're everywhere. If you type in sight word activities or sight word worksheets on Google, you're going to get millions and millions of results. Well, there's millions and millions of activities, but we still have teachers basically in tears over these long sight word lists. And why is that? Because activities aren't the answer. If activities were the answer, you wouldn't be here looking for answers. You'd be printing off some fun activity. But activities are not the answer because engagement is the answer. Always remember, no matter what you're planning in your classroom, that engagement is the key to successful instruction. Without engagement, none of your preparation, none of your knowledge, nothing matters. If your students are not engaged in the things that you're teaching, then it doesn't matter. I could be here tonight talking with the most wonderful speech, but if you're not listening, if you're not engaged with what I'm saying, if it's not processing in your mind, doesn't matter. So that is why engagement is key to all instruction. So we need to be considering at all times what our students are doing, not what we're doing, even though we like to be the queens and have all the attention in the classroom. We need to be focusing on what they're doing and how they are engaged with what we're teaching. So let's take a quick break here, and here's Pepe. The question is, let's fill in the blank with a Dolch sight word. Now, if you're not familiar with those sight words, I'm sorry about that. Just guess. You'll probably get it. But I chose all of the answers tonight from the primer, first grade lists of sight words. So which word could fill in this blank? If you get it correct and you're the very first one, then you will win in the giveaway tonight. And you can have multiple guesses, but please only put one word in per guess. That way I can tell exactly who got it first. So I blank a pickle. What will go in that blank? Okay, let's get to the good stuff now that we have our mindset ready. 3 scientifically proven engagement strategies. So tonight, I'm going to teach you those strategies, but not only the strategies, I'm also going to talk a little bit about the science behind that. And if you're one of those fact checkers that like to know for sure what I'm saying is real, you can follow the link over to my website where I have linked up all the research that I am referring to tonight. So if you're one of those people, I'm one of those people that I like to know, is she telling the truth here? So you can check that out over at teachertony.com/sight words. So let's get into the very first strategy. Okay, the very first strategy is actually singing. And oh, I love to sing in the classroom. I actually like to sing outside of the classroom too. But singing is so powerful. And the way that I use this strategy during sight word instruction is sight word songs. So I'll tell you more about those in just a moment. But let's first talk about the science behind singing in the classroom. Okay, and this could be a touchy subject for you if you have had a family member who's went through this, but my question is, have you ever heard of music therapy? Music therapy is a real thing for people who are going through dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's a very sad thing to mention here, but I want you to know how powerful music and singing are. doctors use music therapy to help those patients recall their memories and emotions. So they are using music in that way because music, the part of our brain that stores music, is the very last part that is affected when people have dementia. So isn't the existence of music therapy pretty cool? And how can we use that deep memory in our classroom? So music activates more areas of the brain than any human function. So above everything else that we can do, our brain is more activated when we are singing and listening to music than at any other time. Pretty crazy. And also when we sing our sight words, we're crossing the hemispheres. And there's a lot of research about that specifically. But when we sing, we are using the right brain, which stores music, and the left brain, which stores our language. So that's really, really powerful. And you can check out the science and all the link ups over on my website about that research. But let's get into the strategy. So to incorporate singing, I use sight word songs. So let's sing our sight words to get this engagement from our students. This will activate the brain and create lasting word memory. So does this mean that when I'm in the nursing home going through dementia that I'll be singing sight word songs to my roommates? More than likely. But that's okay because they do make me happy. But let me also, before I get into the songs, let me encourage you not to rely only on YouTube. I use YouTube every day in my classroom, obviously, mostly for brain breaks and that sort of movement. But when we want students to be engaged, we want to expect an action from them. And I've noticed that a lot of my students will just stare at this screen. They're not really doing anything. So during our sight word singing, I do tell them the expectation, and that is that everyone sings. Whether you like to sing or not, I'm sorry. This is good for your brain. We're going to do it. Kind of like our kids that don't want to eat vegetables. They hate it. But we know it's good for them. So singing is the same here, especially during our sight word instruction. So kind of skip out on the YouTube here and let's just get some good old-fashioned singing going on. And let's not think about our own voice because that's not important either. So that is this strategy, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you. This is what you'll find in the free engagement guide. You'll find this little dandy printout of sight word songs. And big shout out to Dr. Jean. Her blog is where these originated, and she did give me permission to reprint those for you here. If you don't know Dr. Jean, you are missing out. She is like my kindergarten idol, okay? If there was a kindergarten idol instead of American Idol, Dr. Jean would have won like 10 times, 10 seasons in a row. But anyway, check out our website. I've linked that up in the description. But now I'm going to show you how to sing some sight word songs with your class. Okay, let me go down to the two-letter word am. And when we sing two-letter words, we use the tune to Happy Birthday. No, I'm sorry, if you're happy and you know it. Okay, here's how it goes. If you want to spell am, say am. And the students say am. If you want to spell am, say am. It's easy, can't you see, if you sing along with me. If you want to spell am, say am. So that is the two-letter word. Let me get the three-letter word. This one is to the tune of Three Blind Mice. R-E-D, R-E-D, that spells red, that spells red. R-E-D spells red, R-E-D spells red, R-E-D, that spells red. All right, the four-letter words are to the Happy Birthday song. Here we go. J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P spells jump. J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P spells jump. So there's 4. All right, getting a little tricky here. 5-letter words are to the tune of the song Bingo. There is a word that I can spell, and green is its name. Oh, G-R-E-E-N, 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 and green is its name. Oh, all right. And lastly, 6-letter words are sung to the tune of 10 Little Indians. L-I-T-T-L-E, 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 that spells little. Okay, so as you can see, they're very simple to use, and they're 2 popular tunes, so most of your students can join in singing right away. And I love that it's repetitive. They don't have to learn a new song. They don't have to learn a new tune. They already know it. Then they can look at the letters and be able to sing it as soon as you introduce the word. I think these songs are genius. I have used them consistently for, 7 years. And they never fail to engage students. So I love those songs. Make sure you grab them. Big thanks, Dr. Jean, again for sharing those on your blog. And thank you for allowing me to share those with teachers here. All right, let's get back to Pepe. Fill in the blank with adult sight word. I blank a pickle. Let's see who got it. I had a pickle, and I'm pretty sure had comes from the 1st grade word list. So if you got that, good for you. You just won the pre-primer intensive practice pack, and I will send that to you as soon as I'm done here tonight. But let's try another one. I have a blank horse. I have a blank horse. Fill in that blank with a word for me. While we move on to strategy number 2, which is movement. Movement is an incredible engagement strategy that you can use with your kids, and I use this during sight word instruction by having signals with my words. I'll tell you more about that in just a second, but let's talk about the science here. So movement research can be found in vast amounts anywhere on Google. Go look it up if you want, but I did link all that up there in my website. But exercise has been called miracle grow for the brain during our classroom instruction. So that is what one researcher had to say about exercise. And movement increases alertness and builds new brain cells that aid in storing information. The University of North Carolina did a study, and that is what they found about movement being used in the classroom. And specifically, I'm really interested in this set of research that I've linked up over my website. It found that when we use gestures with speech, it makes information more memorable. So when we put a gesture with something that we're saying, what we're saying is more memorable that way. I use this so much in my classroom, even down to punctuation. And you guys know that we decode words with our fingers. Lots and lots of movement in my classroom because I've seen personally the effects of movement with student engagement. So there's your science, but here's the strategy. You can use sight word signals to incorporate movement or gestures, however you want to think about that, into your sight word instruction. So movement, a signal to me is something that I consider movement and a phrase that brings context to a word. So if we're thinking about words in context, our signals need to take that word in context and make a gesture that goes along with it. So if you want to see how that looks in a classroom, I did do a small clip a few years ago from my classroom practicing their signals for a certain set of words. But I'm going to show you some signals here in just a moment. But after I posted that snippet on YouTube and on my former blog, I had so many teachers, please tell me the signals you're using, please write them down. And, it only took me a few years, but I finally got 40 of those written down with the signal and phrase, and that is included in the free engagement guide. So if you're interested in trying out some signals and phrases with your kids, then you can see those in the free download. But let me show you. some of my signals that I use. These are the rainbow words that I use in my classroom. Okay, so this is the word little, and here's the phrase. This is little. So here's the signal that goes along with the phrase. This is little, little, little. And I have my students repeat the word 3 times at the end, and that really helps them distinguish which word it is that we're talking about, because we have a whole sentence there. But I want them to know and to associate the word little with when they see this and with their signal. So again, this is little, little, little. And you can talk about things that are little when you introduce the word. You know, I'm pretending there's a little bug right here in my hand. I'm looking at him. He's so little. This is little. Okay, so let's try out another word. So this is the word green. And when I introduce the word green, I have students think of things that are green. And we have a quick discussion about that. So there's your context. And this is what the signal is. They hold up both hands and they make their fingers the grass. The grass is green, 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 green. Sorry, I'm trying to hold that up there. The grass is green, 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 green. And the green grass, it blows in the wind. So that's why it's moving around. So you may have noticed when I sing my sight word songs, we also do our signals. So there is a word that I can spell, and green is its name, oh. So that actually incorporates the movement and the singing, and we do that during all of our sight word songs. So that is just an extra level of engagement for you guys to incorporate the movement and the singing is like a win-win. Okay, this is the word jump. I can jump, 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 jump. So, and also when we're singing our song, J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P, J-U-M-P spells jump. So we're doing that during those songs too. Red looks like this. My cheeks are red, 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 red. So that kinesthetic movement will show you a new level of engagement during sight word time. If you've not tried that, I highly suggest that you do. And if the 40 that I've included for you are not enough, if that's not your word list, that's okay. You can create the signals. You can create the phrases. You can have your kids help do it. Some of those phrases and signals are from actually the kids that helped me create them in the very beginning when I started using them. And you may be thinking, well, I can't remember all that. Or that is just something extra for my kids to remember. But it's really not. You'll notice very quickly that that is not an extra thing to remember. It's an extra tool for your kids to use. I often notice that there are kids who will be doing the signal, but they can't say the word. They'll see it. They'll see the word red. They'll be going like this. And then finally, once they say it to themselves, they'll say, my cheeks are red. Red! So you'll realize it's actually a tool. And you can do this, okay? It's not complicated at all. Once you do them a few times, you will not be able to forget them, I promise. Okay, let's think fast here and see who got the answer right. I have a blank horse. Remember, that is a word that comes from either the primer, pre-primer, or first grade word list. And the answer is pretty. I have a pretty horse. Our signal, actually, this is one of our words in our last set, the pink words. She's so pretty, pretty, pretty. So that's the answer, is pretty. If you got that, then you've won in the giveaway. Good for you. All right, our very last Pepe challenge is I blank you. I blank you. What Dolch word would fit in that blank? Okay, this is our last strategy tonight, and the strategy is actually humor, and I incorporate humor in our sight word instruction with silly voices. But first, let's talk about the science. Scientists have found that humor lights up the brain, literally. When they did the brain scan and those tests, when kids or anyone has humor incorporated in learning, it lights up their brain. And one researcher says that humor maximizes learning and strengthens memories. So humor can, I think of lots of funny stories from when I was young. Because humor has that effect on our memory. So let's incorporate this in our classroom, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, I use silly voices, or my students use silly voices to spell their sight words. And even your most unengaged students cannot help themselves when you do these silly voices. Everyone loves to be silly, especially the age levels that we are working with every day. And before I show you this strategy, don't let me forget to tell you that you can incorporate this into many other areas of your classroom. So when you are reading your morning message, you want all kids engaged in that. Or doing a shared reading, you could have silly voices there. When you're wanting to improve reading fluency of anything, just ask them to do it in a silly voice, and that humor will up the engagement in your classroom. So, this is what you'll find in the free engagement guide. It is a voice choice board, and I have put some of my favorite voices to use on this chart. You can hang this up in your classroom and make it available to students. So what I would do is this. We would say the word am, we would sing it. If you want to spell am, say A-M, A-M. Okay, boys and girls, spell am, A-M. All right, let's use our whisper voice. A-M. Let's try our baby voice. A-M. My kids love this one. Do it in your monster voice. A-M. Okay, the sad voice. A-M. See how that's kind of silly and fun? It will be fun for your kids, and I always do it after we've sang the words so they know the letters. And it's also during whole group time, so I have the cards up here and they can look at the letters, and it just helps with our memory. You'll be very surprised how engaged your students will be with this strategy. And if you have more ideas for voices you'd like to see in a choice board, just email me, let me know. I can make more of those. These are just the ones that I use, and you got to kind of be creative with them. The hardest one for me is the pig voice. I'm not even going to try it here. It's too embarrassing, but there you go. All right, let's check out Pepe, see what he has to say. I blank you. Let's see who got this one. I know you. You see someone in the grocery store and you're like, oh, I know you. I wonder if anyone got that one. I'll find out in a minute. But let me tell you about some exciting things coming up before we go into our Q&A. Dr. Jean and I are pairing up, and we are going to come out with some really great content to help you boost the positive behaviors in your classroom. And this is going to be some of my very best content I've ever shared, because I've dug deep down into my classroom and really thought about what I do to boost positive behavior. And we are creating this toolkit, and all this information will be available as soon as we get it done. But Dr. Jean is going to host this on our website. I'm so excited. Thank you, Dr. Jean. And you'll be able to find it there, but you will get updates about that in my primary teacher friends Facebook group. So if you're not a part of that, please follow the link, get over there, join us there, and you will be the first to know when this is available. Some of my very best content I've ever shared, getting down nitty and gritty in the classroom and thinking really hard about how I do what I do. And I want to share it with you, and I'm going to give you all the tools you need. You can have them right at your fingertips and get started immediately. So if you like this content, I want to tell you about some of the other content I already have available. If you are having trouble with a lot of unmanaged movement in your classroom, I have a whole article all about that, where you can get these free hand signal posters, the display to go in your classroom, and you can even add your name to it. It's editable for your name. So if you're interested in that, go over to my website. Or if you're interested in hosting a really cool event in kindergarten called an alphabet parade, I have a whole post that tells you exactly how to do that. There's even a free checklist to help you get all that planned out. That is something that I'm going to start planning for around the end of March, beginning of April. Something I am doing with my students this year, and I have done in the past. Very, very fun event. So if you're looking for some extra family involvement in the kindergarten to celebrate your alphabet study, make sure you get over to my website and check out that free content. Before we get in our Q&A, please leave me some feedback. I already told you all that I really appreciate it, and it's really encouraging to me. But I really want you to be honest, and I want to improve. I think growth is where we find happiness. We find happiness when we learn and grow. So I want to learn and I want to grow. So leave me some real thoughtful and constructive feedback. Let me know what you thought of the broadcast tonight. And now let's jump over to our Q&A. And I'm going to begin by answering some questions that some teachers have already submitted to the Primary Friends Facebook group. Okay, Nadia and Courtney were both kind of asked me the same question. I'm wondering if the order of introducing the words matters or helps. So we're talking about what order we introduce our sight words in. And my very best answer for that is it depends on what reading material you're using or what kind of activities you're using. We want students to be able to come in contact with those words in real text. So I would follow whatever reading series or whatever reading programs that are in place in my district, and I would introduce those words in the order that students are going to find them in the text. So that is what I think, but beyond that, when I'm introducing words, I think about I try to lay it out in a way that makes sense. So for instance, I don't want to confuse students with words that are too similar. For example, the word on and the word no are both included on the word list that I'm required to teach. So I put them completely separate during my instruction. So just be thoughtful in the layout. Try not to confuse students with words that are very similar. And try to follow whatever reading content you are using so students can come in contact with the words in real text. So thank you, Nadia and Courtney, for that question. All right, my friend Laura. Thank you, Laura, for leaving a question. I'm looking for ideas to help students find the words embedded in text. I find a few of mine can identify words in isolation, but within text, they stumble. Laura, that is such a common problem. Actually, me and a friend were talking on Facebook last night just about this, and I call that flashcard syndrome. And what that means is my students can very easily identify the word in a flashcard, but when they find it in text, they don't recognize it at all. So, Laura, let me just give you a little tip here. What I do is when we come in contact with a word in text, I'll have students I'll say, let's look at that word. You know that word, that's a sight word. So I kind of give them a little scaffolding there. If they don't figure out the word then, I'll ask them to sing the letters. So for example, if they saw the word C, I would say sing the letters. S-E-E, okay? And what happens then is most of the students make the connection between those letters and the song, and now they know the word. That's how it works in my classroom. And let's not forget that getting that connection in text isn't something that happens overnight. We have to make many, many connections in order to finally recognize those words. I mean, it's pretty confusing. They're always written in a different font, a different size. If you add a capital letter to the beginning of a sight word, they don't even recognize it at all anymore. So it's just a lot of different connections that need to be made, and it just takes some reinforcement of you asking your student to look at that word again, providing a scaffold, and then eventually they'll understand that, hey, these are the words that I know from those cards. And I really believe that's a developmental skill. So just keep working at that, Laura. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your question. All right, Anne says, what are the best ways or ideas to actually help their brains remember the words beyond the week? I'm teaching it, and how do I get them to use that knowledge when they are reading their own books? So, Anne, kind of the same thing. You can also use these strategies that I've shared tonight to create some deeper memory of those words. Those sight word songs really, really help when they're seeing the words in a book, because they can, especially when you tell them to look at the individual letters and say them out loud, it kind of makes a connection there in their brain. And so just like I told Laura, it's kind of a process of making connections in many different areas. So I hope that helps. Try these strategies that I talked about here and let me know, Anne, if that works for you. Thank you so much for your question, Anne. I appreciate it. Nina says, how often do you review, and with how many previous words at a time? Nina, that's a great question, and I think we all do this differently. But what I do is I do the rainbow word system, and each color of the rainbow has 12 words. So we stay on we do 6 words per week, and that's 2 weeks for all 12 words. And then sometimes I'll have a third week in there just to review that one set of words. But what I do is when we have learned all of the red and we move on to the orange, so we're on the 6 new orange words, I go back and do all of the red with those 6 new orange words. And so I'm always going back to the previous color, but once a week I pull out all of the words and we review them all on one day of the week, usually Friday. And so they're getting exposure to that. And also in your, if you have RTI groups or small group reading, it's good to just do a spiral of all words as often as you can. So I would just try to get at least once a week, go back and review all the words, because if many weeks go between those words, then they're probably going to forget them. So I hope that helps, Nita. That's what I do. I'm not saying that is the end-all answer, but that is how I do it to make sure they're getting exposure to all words. And we also have the word wall there available. Sometimes I'll go over and randomly have students recall words from there. So that kind of helps and gives more exposure to the words. Okay, Kaylin says, how do I get the ones that aren't interested to engage and practice when learning as a whole group? Okay, Kaylin, I really hope that the 3 strategies that I shared tonight are resonating with you. And I use all 3 of those strategies as whole group instruction time. So try those out. I really think that may be the answer to your question. Let me know if you need any more help with that. Okay, let's see. Okay, Nita says, never heard of the rainbow method, but that still helps. Okay, Nita, thank you. Rainbow Words is just an organizational system that I use, and I created my own version of that, and it breaks down my 92 words into the colors of the rainbow, and it's kind of differentiation because students work on their own color level. And I send those sight words home, and their parents get assessments that go along with it to show what words their students are working on. So it's really a good system. I love using that. I get it all prepped before school starts, and I have it for the whole school year. So how do you help your kiddos that can't read any words yet? Okay, Diane, that's a great question. So I would have a further question. Do you mean decoding words or recognizing sight words? Because what I would say is that sight words aren't words that we actually read. They're just words that we remember. We can't decode sight words. Sight words, we should never encourage our students to sound out sight words. But what I do is I just start with the very lowest level of words, and we talk about that word as not something, we don't look at the letters, we look at the word, and we recognize it upon seeing it. So I would start with simple words like I, a, see, can, and I would teach your students those signals, those songs. And I know before long, within a day or two, your students, even that can't read any words, should recognize those words. So give that a try and let me know what you think. Okay, Glory, I'm in 3rd grade and I need help with math. Okay, Glory, I have other math resources available. If you send me a private message, I'd be happy to help you in any way. So I'm just checking to see if we have any more questions. Okay, I think we got it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this training and sticking along for the Q&A. I really, really appreciate you being here. And I will let you know as soon as possible about the upcoming training with the ultimate positive behavior toolkit. You won't want to miss that. And I really appreciate your time here. If you have any further questions, make sure to leave a comment or send me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, guys, thank you. See you soon.